Hey, this is Andrew McFarlane with StartAJuiceBar.com, your trusted resource for all things juice bar oriented. And today I wanted to give you the top 5 expert tips on starting a juice bar. It's amazing because for me, I've been in the juice business now for a number of years and made a lot of mistakes, had a lot of success, really grateful to have been in a place where I have a company that has been successfully running for about 4 years with 2 locations now in the Los Angeles area. And in that time, there's definitely a lot of things that I've learned that can make your life simpler and have made my life a lot easier along the way. So with that, you're seeing this acronym, and it actually stands for Keep It Simple. The first expert tip is keep it simple. Now, when I say that, I mean in regards to everything. A lot of times what I see with business owners, people that I'm working with, is when it comes to their menu, they've got 1,000 different recipes because they really want to appeal to everyone. And that is a great ambition. It's admirable, it's beautiful, and it comes from a beautiful place. But at the same time, you have to really realize before you're on the ground floor and you're really seeing how the operations are going to work, until then you can't really appreciate how important it is to keep it simple. Now, can you keep it too simple? Yes, it's possible to keep it too simple. If you have a menu with one item on it, it may not really inspire, unless it's amazing, which is possible, but may not inspire too many people to come back. So I would say I've never seen that as being an issue. I've more so seen people who have done the opposite and complicated things unnecessarily through having 1,000 different ingredients on their list, 100 items on their menu. I was a victim to that. I had to cut my menu in half after having my juice bar open for 4 or 5 months because I realized it was ruining our production, and therefore the customer service was suffering, and everything is connected. So when you can keep it simple in all facets, starting with your menu, it will make your whole operation that much more simple. Let's move on. We'll move on to number 2. The second tip, expert tip, is really invest in your staff. So I'm going to write it up here so you guys can see it. Your staff is the backbone of your company. The people. We are inherently, as human beings, we are social creatures. And I like to say that there really is no such thing as business. There is that, but that's a layer of it. At the end of the day, we're all human beings. And when I say invest in your staff, I do mean monetarily, and I mean with your time, your energy, your thought, your emotion. So just going to the monetary side to address that, you are going to interview people who might have more experience, and they may be more expensive if you're talking about salary or even hourly. And if you can afford it, that's not the place to count pennies, because the value of someone who is low performing to mediocre to very high performing is such a vast contrast. The spread is so wide that I can't emphasize this enough, to really invest in your staff. Now, when it comes to emotionally and mentally, once again, realize that you're creating a relationship with these people. Your staff is your family. They're going to be there. They're the people that you're going to trust with your business when you're not there, when they're communicating with customers. A lot of times, small business owners, they want to do everything because they either are insecure or they're control freaks, or they haven't matured to the place of being able to delegate. And when you get to the place where you're able to empower other people and delegate, you're really going to see that it's like a seed. What you invest in them, they are going to invest back into you. They will realize the value that you have for your business just based on how much you appreciate them. So invest in your staff. The next expert tip is to know your role. So know your role within your business. Now, this is not just specific to juice bars. This is an overall business tip, but this is something that I really learned through having a juice bar. Because the juice bar is kind of the ideal small business. You can get into it without too much experience. It's not an overly complex business, assuming you don't complicate your life unnecessarily. But within this too, there's a great book about this, Knowing Your Role. And I'm going to get more specific, but it's called The E-Myth. If you haven't read it, I recommend reading that, The E-Myth. It's a very popular business book. This isn't specific about knowing your role, but this is really about becoming an entrepreneur. So a lot of times what happens with people who are in small businesses, they end up wanting to do everything either because of financial reasons. They can't afford to hire too much staff, and so they end up making the juice and doing the accounting and doing the marketing and doing everything, and that's fine if that's where you are and that's what you have to do, but also understand where you're going. What is the role that you are going to be playing within your business? And the reason that this is really an expert tip, this is really important, is because you are the common denominator. Everything is a reflection of how you are functioning. If you are not functioning well, it's very challenging, or if not impossible, for your business to function well, because it's an extension of you. Everything that you create is an extension of who you are. So being in a place where you are doing too much, you're tired, you're run down, things aren't getting done, things are being overlooked, and I see this happen all the time. This is very common. So really, from the very, very beginning, create and position yourself in such a way where you know what your responsibilities are, how you need to manage your business, what is it that you're talented at, how can you empower other people who may be more talented at certain things that you either don't want to do, can't do, don't have the time to do, or are not really born to do naturally in your disposition. So know what your role is within your business. The next expert tip is going to get a little more specific. These have kind of been more principles of business. The next tip is really juice bar specific, and it's around your menu, and it's really to name your drinks by their effect. So let's see if you can see this. I'll put it down at the bottom. Name drinks by effect. What I mean by this is when you're creating your menu, it's really great to be creative, whatever your concept is. Hope you can read that. I'll see, it's a little messy. Pardon me, it's a challenge to write backwards. So you have whatever your juice bar concept is. But the thing that's interesting about where the juice industry is going and where it's at currently is people aren't just drinking juice for their flavor. People are looking for a specific kind of result. I'm drinking juice for my digestion. I'm drinking juice for my skin, for hydration, for detoxing my liver. The list goes on. I have a cold, I have a flu. So when people are walking into your juice bar and they've never been there before, and they're looking at your menu, one, this is going to create an efficiency just in the time it takes for somebody to order something, but there's also the experience that I'm sure you've had as well if you've gone to a restaurant and the menu is just overwhelming you. And it might be playful, it might be creative, it might be beautiful, but it doesn't really serve the function of the menu, which is the result that the customer wants, is to order something and then as fast as possible and to enjoy it. So my strategy is, when naming drinks, has always been to, within the name, if I can incorporate something that has to do with the flavor and the effect, now I've got the best of both worlds, because there could be something that's great for my liver, but is it sweet? Is it tart? Is it spicy? This is a very practical and pragmatic way to approaching naming your drinks that will, in the long run, support you. It'll support your customers. It's very simple, and just to recognize that the psychology right now that people have around why they order juices, smoothies, is for their health. It's for a certain result. And they also want it to taste good. So these are the two primary motivations. Now, if you can accomplish this in a name, you're doing a beautiful thing. So moving on, the last thing is, in the juice bar industry, this is really important. I'll share a story with you how I actually learned this. It's kind of unfortunate that I went through this scenario and had to learn the hard way, but it's really important. Make sure you have more, I'll put it next to this top one, more than one juicer. Now, depending on your model, a lot of people are doing the cold press juice with the hydraulic press, or maybe you have more of the traditional juice bar where you have the centrifugal juicer. That's great. If you can afford it, and I really, really, really recommend that if you're investing a lot of money in opening your juice bar, you find a way to afford it. And it doesn't mean that you're going to buy two $20,000 hydraulic press machines. You might have a couple of Norwalks on the side, or you might have, just in case your press breaks, which mine did, and I'll share with you how that will happen. Maybe you have a couple of centrifugal juicers and you tell your customers, hey, we're sorry, but this juicer's down, but we're happy to make it for you to order. Whatever that scenario is that you figure out. But just on a practical level, just consider how much sense it makes. You spend $50,000, $100,000, $200,000 opening your juice bar, and you've got your whole business dependent on one machine. Now, machines break. Cars break. Everything that we know, they break down. I experienced that in the first 2 weeks of opening my juice bar on Sunset. We had this huge hydraulic press we spent all this money on, and one of the valves broke. It sprayed a liter of oil all over the ground, and the juice, we couldn't make juice anymore until they were going to fix it. And that was not quick. So you might find yourself in a very challenging predicament where you have staff on payroll, you have a lot of things you have to pay for, and this company who made this machine, they're not going to take responsibility for that. So you have to be mature and preemptively prepare for in any scenario where that might come up. I can't emphasize it enough. It's so important. A lot of times it's overlooked by a lot of people because of how big the investment is. They never in their wildest dreams think I've spent $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 on this machine and it might break down. But the truth is it probably will at some point. So be prepared for that. That's the nature of these machines. They break. So just a quick overview of what these are. KIS is an acronym. Keep it simple. Don't overcomplicate your life. Invest in your staff. Recognize how important your staff are, and really take the time to really nurture them. It's becoming your family in your business. Next thing, know your role. How can you support the business through the role that you're playing in your staff or in your company as a whole, so that way you really, really make sure that your life is balanced, you're enjoying what you're doing, it's sustainable, you're not burning yourself out, but you're also exercising your gifts, your talents. That's the most important thing, because that's the greatest way that you're going to be of service to the company, and you're allowing other people to do the same. And then name your drinks based on their effect. So connect to what is the result of this drink, what's the taste as well. So effect really and taste is the two things that I would say you want to name your drink. For example, spicy liver flush. It's very clear what it tastes like, what it does, and it even sounds kind of appealing a little bit. And then the last thing, make sure when it comes to equipment, not just even for juicers, make sure you have more than one juicer, but also just anything else that you're really, really highly dependent on. Do you have a backup? It's just a principle of functioning, because too many things can rely on this thread, and it might not be a really, really strong element. Something could go wrong. So once again, thanks as always. This is Andrew McFarland signing out. And as I always like to mention, if you want to reach out to me, there's a contact form on the site if you're at the site. Otherwise as well, subscribe if you are interested and comment below. Hope you're having a beautiful day, and I'll see you guys all soon.